The people who cut off their families are not cold. They are not selfish. In almost every case, they are the ones who tried the longest. Maybe you're the one who finally closed the door. Maybe you're the one standing on the other side, wondering why it's shut. Either way, this is going to hurt a little, and then it's going to make sense. Because psychology has a very specific explanation for why this happens, and it is not what anyone has told you. Here is what you have been told if you walked away: that you are selfish, that you will regret it, that family is family no matter what. And here is what you have been told if someone walked away from you: that they were poisoned, manipulated, that something turned them against you. Both of those stories feel true, and both of them are incomplete. According to researcher Carl Pillemer at Cornell University, roughly 1 in 4 adults in the United States is currently estranged from a family member. 1 in 4. This is not a wave of selfish people abandoning their families. This is a pattern, and patterns have causes. Most of us were handed a script about what family is supposed to be. We were never asked whether the script was accurate. Picture this. She's 32. She is sitting in the same chair she has sat in since she was 7, the one closest to the window, at the kitchen table of her childhood home. It is Sunday dinner. It smells like it always smells. And then it happens. The same conversation. The same dismissal. You always were too sensitive. A memory from 3 years ago quietly rewritten right in front of her. She puts her fork down. She smiles. That smile costs something. 20 minutes later, she's sitting in her car in the driveway. Not crying, not angry, just still. The engine is off. She's staring at nothing. In the rearview mirror, the door of the house is still lit up. They haven't noticed she's gone yet. Here is why that scene happens over and over again, and why leaving feels impossible, even when staying feels unbearable. From the moment you are born, your brain builds a template, a working model of what safety feels like, what love looks like, what home sounds like. And the primary architect of that template is your family. This is the foundation of attachment theory, first mapped by psychologist John Bowlby in the 1960s. Your brain does not just remember your family, it is partially built from them. So, when the real family, the one at the Sunday table, consistently deviates from what that template says safe should feel like, the brain registers what psychologists call a prediction error, a gap. And that gap does not feel like disappointment. It feels like a low-grade alarm that never fully turns off. Researcher Bessel van der Kolk documented what that alarm does to the body over time. The hypervigilance, the chest that tightens before you even pull into the driveway, the version of you that cannot fully exhale inside the house that was supposed to be your first safe place. Estrangement, then, is not a decision made in anger. In most cases, it is the nervous system reaching a threshold. The alarm has been running too long. And that leads us to 3 patterns that make this so difficult to see clearly until now. The first is called the loyalty trap. In families where love and harm share the same room, staying is not always strength. Often it is a trauma response, the adaptation where appeasing feels safer than leaving. The most loyal child in the room is sometimes the most frightened one. The second is called the cruelty of silence. Going no contact looks sudden from the outside. It almost never is. The people who go quiet are usually the ones who said everything first and were met with dismissal every time. The quiet ones did not stop talking. The room stopped listening. The third is called the inheritance wound. The person causing the harm is almost always carrying a wound that existed before you were born. That does not excuse it, but it means you are not just dealing with one person. You are dealing with everyone who hurt them and was never held accountable. A wound moving forward through generations, looking for somewhere to land. Without understanding that, it becomes your inheritance too. Carl Pillemer's Family Estrangement Project at Cornell found that in the majority of adult-initiated estrangements, the person who left had tried to communicate repeatedly before going silent. This was the final step in a long process, not the first. Dr. Christina Sharp's research found they don't describe it as relief. They describe it as grief. Private grief with no ritual and no one to mourn with. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss. The data does not describe a cold person, it describes an exhausted one. And here is what that exhaustion actually cost you. Not just the relationship, the years of low-grade vigilance, the energy spent managing what should have been a safe place. The versions of yourself you could not become while you were still performing fine at that table. This has been running in the background of your life for a long time. That is worth acknowledging, quietly and without apology. Now, 3 things that psychology wants you to understand. First, distance is not the opposite of love. Sometimes it is love, deciding that the only way to survive intact is to stop standing directly in front of the thing that keeps breaking it. Second, grief and relief are not contradictions. Most estranged people feel both simultaneously. Feeling both is not confusion, it is accuracy. Third, understanding why someone caused harm does not obligate you to remain within reach of it. You can hold compassion for the wound that made them who they are and still choose not to be in the room. Those 2 things are not in conflict. You do not need to decide today whether you made the right choice or whether they did. Psychology is not here to give you a verdict. It is here to give you something more useful than that. A name for what you are carrying. We started with a door, not a wall, not a lock. A door, which means it has a hinge. It can be closed without being permanent. It can be reopened. It can simply exist as what it is, a boundary between 2 spaces held in place by something that moves. You closed it quietly, with shaking hands. Maybe you are still not sure you were right. Maybe you will never be fully sure. That uncertainty does not mean you were wrong. It means you are human, and you were carrying something that finally became too heavy to hold inside that house. That thing has a name, distance, and distance, real distance, is not the end of something. It is the beginning of space. If this gave you a name for something you have been carrying alone, you are not the only one. Share this with someone who needs the language more than the verdict. And if you want to go deeper, subscribe. There is more where this came from.